Ubuntu then versus now. 10 years of desktop change. Ubuntu has changed a lot over the past decade, but not always in the ways people expect. In 2015, Ubuntu 15.04 shipped as a much smaller desktop image at about 1.1 gigabytes, while Ubuntu 25.04's desktop image is around 5.85 gigabytes. That bigger download tells a story. Ubuntu has grown into a more feature-rich, more polished, and more hardware-aware desktop than it was 10 years ago. One of the biggest changes is the installer. In 2023, Canonical explained that it had redesigned the Ubuntu desktop installer in Flutter and unified the desktop and server installer codebases. By Ubuntu 25.04, that work had matured further, with better support for dual boot installs, BitLocker-enabled drives, and advanced partitioning. The result is a smoother setup experience than the older Ubuntu era ever had.
The desktop itself went through an even bigger identity shift. In 2017, Canonical said it had moved Ubuntu's default session to GNOME Shell, while Unity 7 remained available for users who wanted it. Modern Ubuntu still uses GNOME as its foundation, but Canonical layers on its own extensions and additions, so the desktop still feels distinctively Ubuntu rather than plain upstream GNOME. That change affected the look, the workflow, and the overall feel of the system. Ubuntu 15.04 still came from the Unity era, when the desktop experience was more tightly tied to Canonical's in-house vision. Ubuntu 25.04, by contrast, is built around GNOME 48 and focuses on performance, usability, and modern hardware support. The new release also brings features like triple buffering, HDR settings, and battery health tools, which shows how much the desktop has evolved for today's machines.
Software delivery changed just as dramatically. Canonical launched Snap Packages in 2016 as a universal format designed to work across Linux distributions, with automatic updates, confinement, and easier app distribution. By Ubuntu 24.04, the new App Center had become a central part of the desktop experience, offering a Flutter-based interface, clearer app categories, ratings, and dedicated firmware updates. In other words, Ubuntu went from an old-style software center to a much more modern app hub. So when you compare Ubuntu 15.04 with Ubuntu 25.04, the real difference is not just visual, it is philosophical. Ubuntu has become larger, more refined, and more integrated with modern desktop needs, while still trying to stay approachable for new users. The core idea is still the same. Make Linux easy to install, easy to use, and ready for everyday work.